What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free to stay in the loop. Arm yourselves, life stuff. Probably another briefer one this time. I think one of the reasons I've been uploading so frequently recently, to the detriment of my analytics, is a fear I'll be unable to speak at some point. And we're talking about a few things today, but they're all connected. Slim got pretty bad sick, but he's getting better now, but that was a concern. And now a dog that's been in the family since I was in middle school looks like he's about to go. He's been old for a long time, but over the last week he's eaten less and less. And today I could only get him to eat 3 bites of food. And one way or another, that's death. And I've been wrestling with my feelings about it. Because I know how it feels, or is supposed to feel, to lose animals. But I'm not feeling in that typical fashion this go round. Or at least, the sorrow is not in the same place. Because this time, I'm not feeling shit, I'm about to lose a cherished pet. This time, I'm more feeling, God, helplessness sucks. I can't stand feeling helpless. I can't stand watching anyone or anything being helpless. And I can't stand existence for inflicting helplessness on conscious, feeling beings. I hate that more than anything. And it got me thinking about brain wiring and dealing with things. I am out of yesterday's slump. I don't know how we're going to tie all these ideas together, but we're going to try. The only answer, ever, is to move forward. You cannot go back. And if you try to live in the present, which the more I think about this, the more confusing it is to me that the mantra of today is to live in the present, you can't live in the present. If you focus on living in the present, you get left behind. I mean, you can't be anywhere but the present, but when I say live, I mean focus. The future is the only thing to live in. And you don't know where you're going, but you have to move and you have to get there. But there's no destination because the destination is moving. And this is not in the journey is the destination sense. You're not walking a long, winding, scenic road. You're in a labyrinth on treadmill floors. If you stop moving, you get swept up, you get trapped, and then you die. The world doesn't stop moving. If you want to be a participant, then you need to move with it. So with this dog situation, I'm not feeling what I think I'm supposed to feel. Thanks to a combination of factors, my brain isn't wired right. It's not wired the way it used to be, even. So I'm sitting here in this slump, trying to figure out both what's wrong with me and what am I supposed to do with these other feelings. Feelings that are sad, but not in that tender way. Or, in other words, to frame it better, if I can't do anything about this situation or others, what am I supposed to do about myself, and what am I supposed to do generally? Well, the answers come in actions and in concepts, and they aren't even that complicated, thankfully. Firstly, don't fight your feelings. They aren't problems to overcome, they are quicksand. Or fighting them is quicksand. You're still in this treadmill labyrinth, and whatever you're feeling is a dummy designed to distract you, inviting you to wail on it with all kinds of methods: psychological, substantial, self-helptual, whatever. But the more time and energy and resources you devote to wailing on this dummy, trying to beat it, is time and resources you are wasting asking to get trapped. If you can't kill it and you recognize it's trying to trap you, accept it. And important to note is accepting it doesn't make it go away either. It won't make you feel any better. But by accepting it, you don't stop the bleeding, but you stop focusing on the bleeding. And now your attention and energy is available for forward movement. And moving forward isn't guaranteed to solve the problem either. In fact, you are almost certainly going to run into even more painful shit. But you're at least not sitting there bleeding out. Because if you sit and wait, then you'll be sitting and waiting forever. Your situation isn't going to change. Or rather, when it does change, because it will change, these changes are being inflicted upon you. You are just an object being thrown around. By going forward, you are at least moving with the changes. You are at least not dying in that spot. If you don't like the spot you're in, why would you sit there? And again, whatever you move into, because you can't see, you never know exactly where you're going or what's going to happen, it at least won't be exactly the thing tormenting you. I'm not explaining this well, but the only thing you can do is stay moving while you still can. And again, I don't mean physically moving, and I don't even mean a material problem necessarily. Don't let the blood stagnate. Get the heart pumping, get the blood flowing. One of my methods when I find my thoughts congealing is a narrative injection. One of my sometimes comforting, sometimes pain-inducing, or pain-prolonging habits is playing games without narrative, or doing anything without narrative, anything that is focused solely on the mechanics of what's happening, and listening to video essays about nothing, and doing this for days at a time with my recreation. And that is an utterly stagnant state. Because although you're engaging in recreation, for me most commonly again games that are mechanics focused, you're basically working at an assembly line that is programmed in a way that is supposed to feel fun, but it doesn't change the fact you are just at an assembly line. Make number go up. And then with the video essays, although these are all people talking about things, there's no narrative to them. All it feels like is a set of facts getting stuck in my head that I don't really care about, am not really doing anything with. And I love video essays. I learn stuff from them, or at least I get perspective from them, but I'm not going anywhere. Whereas engaging with any sort of narrative, I do feel like I'm going somewhere. These aren't just mechanics or compiled nicely facts. There is a progression to experience and think about. Last night I read Seton Academy, which is a really great manga. We're going to have to talk about that at some point. Anime is peak. It's mid, but it's peak. And that started getting me on track. Or at least not sitting in the slump I was in. I started finding my way into a different slump. And then today I've been chipping away at a Disco Elysium psychic or psyche and motorix run. And that got me thinking about something that connects to all this. So, firstly, in the general mood of the way I was playing Harry this go round, his attitude is a lot more confident without being too wacky or wild. Basically, whatever happens, I'm not going to recoil. We're going to keep moving and acting briskly. If something doesn't work, we aren't going to think about what should have happened or what should happen, or we're not going to try to work out the quotes correct course of action. We are going to keep taking actions until something gets us somewhere. And Kuno and Annette are two of my favorite characters in that game. And I found it interesting that any sort of Harry can end up getting along with Kuno. And the way you get along with Kuno, no matter what character you're playing, is by doing as much shit in as many varieties as possible without stopping. Kim says you should not. What does he call him? He calls him a force of chaos, Kuno is. And that makes you think to get along with Kuno, then you need to be equally chaotic. But if you try hard, particularly to get along with Kuno, it doesn't work. But if you keep doing shit, he does come around. Not, I think, because you did the correct actions, but because you did a lot of actions. And the more you do, the more varieties of things you do, the more of Kuno you learn, the more sides of him you learn. And there are tons of different sides of Kuno. Buried underneath or hidden underneath that chaos abrasive element that is designed to shake you off if you're trying to get along with them. Trying specifically to get along with them, I mean. If you aren't trying and you're just doing a bunch of shit, it seems like you end up getting along with Kuno and learning all these different sides of him. And that's very true to life, especially in the way we're thinking about life right now, in this video even, but even more in the outcome. If Kuno is a representation of chaos and movement and helplessness, both in the helplessness he lives and the helplessness he inflicts on others, what does Kuno, and thereby life, look like when you've gotten it into a, quotes, good place? Because I know it's most people's headcanon that Kuno becomes a junior RCM officer, and if I'm not mistaken, I really think one of the devs confirmed that that's what happens with Kuno after the game, but I don't know for sure because there's also the Revachol gets nuked in 50 years thing. Regardless, what does this reformed Kuno or reformed life look like? Well, I don't think it's good or normal in the traditional senses. When a child as mentally fucked as Kuno is, or when a life as generally fucked as yours is, gets, quotes, reformed, it doesn't look or perform the way it is supposed to. Quote, supposed to. Your brain will never work the way it's supposed to. Your life will never look the way people tell you it's supposed to. You'll never think the things you're supposed to think, you'll never feel the things you're supposed to feel, you'll never do the things you're supposed to do. However, you can not drop dead where you're standing. or die overdosing in a small apartment with your not caring father passed out in the other room. You can't reform people into absolute normality. And once your life has gone in an odd direction, you can never return to absolute normality. But fuck absolute normality. Life isn't a democracy. The best universal way to live is not decided by majority vote. Kuno is one of the best characters because of all of the odd potentialities within him. He is not going to grow up into clean cut, standard citizen, living standard life. But in interacting with him, you can see all the different, seemingly disconnected interests and ways he could turn out, none of which involve overdosing and dying at the age of 12. And I think it's telling that Kuno does side with you. If you are unsatisfied with or miserable with the physical, mental, or emotional circumstances you find yourself in, you throw shit at the wall like you're throwing rocks at a corpse until something sticks. It's not the quote's correct path, but that quote's correct path has been denied to you, and trying to get on that specific path won't get you anywhere. Fussing about not being on or not being able to get on that path won't get you anywhere. If you don't like where you are, you have to find something different. And in Kuno, there are so many different things, so many different ways he could grow up, your life could turn out, if you choose to move forward and try to get into any of those things. Anything other than sitting here waiting to die. So, to sum all this up, if you are feeling unhappy, unsatisfied, helpless, defective, etc., don't try to fight what's wrong. Don't fuss that something is wrong. Pick a direction and start moving. At the bare minimum, open the windows so fresh air can blow in. If you can't move, then allow other ideas to come in, to float by. It's not about what's wrong or what should be. It's all about what is and movement. And again, none of this will fix anything, but you at least won't feel totally trapped and totally doomed. For now. For a while. You will have to confront those feelings, you will be confronted by those feelings, and you'll keep on running into terrible shit. You can't not. That's life. But you can at least stay moving. And to clarify on the Kuno thing, there is not a correct path. There is just movement or lack of movement. And moving is what you want to be doing. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.